To comment during the Frankly Speaking show, you first need to open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click inside the chat box and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the Enter key on your keyboard or click the Send button. Your comment will then appear in the chat for everyone watching the live stream to see. If you want to send another comment,
Good day. This afternoon, international news suggests at least uncertainty in the Middle East. As we all know, the helicopter carrying the president of Iran crashed early Sunday and he has not been located. The most we can do for now is to wait and hope for the best. This is a Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast, episode 120 for Sunday, May 19, 2024. Our special guest today is UWI Professor Desmond, a noted scholar and one of the most credible voices on early childhood education, which is what he'll speak to in a while. And with us are our regular presenters, Desmond Richards, Winnie Anderson Brown, and Mary White. I'm Franklin McKnight. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. Live, of course, the podcast will be available on the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast YouTube channel. Please feel free to comment anytime in the show, and we'll bring you that again to show you how you may. Please subscribe to the channel and share this podcast. As usual, we go around the table for a quick summary of each of the presenters. Let's start with Winnie. Winnie, over to you. All right, we're missing Winnie. So let's go to Mary.
This week, we're going to be sharing the results of the Bun survey. And so stay tuned because you're going to be very surprised as to what we find.
The Bun survey. All right, Winnie, you're back. Let's hear what you're up to this week.
Yes, this week I will speak to what happened on the 13th of May this year with respect to artificial intelligence.
Oh, great. And Desmond.
From all indications now, it would appear as if we are going to have some difficulty moving away from the Babylon system because the government and opposition have not agreed on serious fundamental changes as it relates to how we should walk away from the king's house.
Oh, so it's King Charles' system you call it Babylon system. All right, we'll find out where we're going with that. But we'll start with Professor Hutton. Now, everyone says that the early childhood years, the period between 3 and 5 or earlier, those years are fundamental to the eventual full social, emotional, cognitive development of a human being. And yet, in Jamaica, we still are warehousing children in some of these institutions for the early childhood cohort. Professor Hutton, please bring us up to date on where we are as a nation and if there's anything to be proud of or there's anything that we should be urgent about. Over to you, Prof. Prof, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing Professor Hutton. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. No, Professor Hutton's internet seems... Prof, it's disjointed. The internet is disjointed. All right. So we're going to turn to Mary White and see if Joshua Black can fix up Prof for us for the moment. we're going to turn. His service is not helping at the moment. So, Mary,
Yes.
let's take you. You from last week you were going to be telling us about infidelity.
Yes, that's another word for it.
All right, so go ahead.
So after talking to a number of men and women to ask them the question, who gives the most bun? The same amount of women, we have a tie. Alarmingly, a tie. When I started the survey, I thought it was going to come out with the men leading the way, giving the most bun. No, Winnie? I see Winnie shaking her head.
No.
That was my first impression in embarking on the survey. However, there's a tie because men feel that based upon things like the failed paternity test at the US Embassy, definitely the woman under the covers that gives some bun. And the women say based upon the number of enrollment in school of twins by different mothers, children the same age, fathered by the same man, but two different women that they didn't even know about, they would say that men give the most bun. So then we say, well, if there's a tie, then we're equal. They said, no. Now you need to turn to who give the hottest bun. Because it is symbology of bun, like a little round bun versus a big Maxfield Easter bun versus a medium-sized bun, that would make the winner, the sex come out the winner. So hear what they say. A round bun is considered to be just general flirting, and they say women lead the way with that. Women did accept and agree that they flirt more than men. The medium-sized bun is flirting in front of your partner. And them say, again, women lead the way with that. A woman, especially if you're not have an altercation, she just come and she just roll out the flirting right in front of you to make you angry. But here, you know, the big Maxfield Easter bun go to the men them, because women and men agree that a man will all bring another woman or 5 women in one day in a wife's bed and think nothing of it. While the women will go, you know, to a place outside of the matrimonial or the relationship home and carry on with their cheating or their infidelity. Men will bring women into the bed, and the woman said that are the hottest bun that you can ever get if a man if a man ever give you a bun.
Whoa, Winnie is shaking her head.
I can
Winnie
hear
is
worse
vigorously
than
shaking her
that of this
head.
woman.
Go ahead,
This
Winnie.
woman who brought in this woman brought in her man into her home and told her husband that is her uncle, and that man lived in the house and was fed by her husband's labor. So I don't know if it can get worse than that. And that's not just
Yes,
an
but that's
isolated case. That is how some brazen some
not
women
the majority of the cases, because I did hear about some of those cases where
that is worse.
Go ahead, Mary.
Those are isolated cases. They are not the regular everyday. I did hear about those cases where the partner will bring in either a cousin or an uncle. A girl is a cousin from the country, only to find out, or even they are the helper. And when them look, it's a full-fledged relationship under your nose. But those were not the majority of cases. Regularly, a man will just bring several women into the matrimonial bed and think nothing of it. And when the wife find out, it's like a dagger. She prefer take a bullet.
Mary, you spoke about a survey. What was the sample size of your sample?
About 20 persons.
But that had
20.
10 women.
20?
Yes, brother.
Yes.
That is unscientific, man.
It's
Well,
not scientific. It's not scientific.
It's unscientific. It's more of an anecdotal survey.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. You can't use the word survey to describe that. But in any case, though, one of the things that we are socialized to believe that when it comes on to relationship, men are the transgressors. It is a socialization process that lends us to think that way, you know.
I thought so too.
because women and men, women are very aggressive in their actions as to, you know. So when we believe that infidelity, that men are leaders in that area, no, it is not so. Because
so you will say that in the survey that I did turn out the truth. They're tied in that area. The women are just as aggressive as the men.
Because if you, all right, when you look at, here is something scientific.
Go on.
The data at the U.S. Embassy those are real numbers, you know. Those can
only reflect on what, Desmond? Those only reflect on the woman. Those don't reflect on the man.
That's what I am saying.
Yes.
That is the point. That is the point.
No,
that is where I am.
That's not comparative. It just says that some children that men thought were their own children, biological children, are not.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question. That who is responsible for that? Men or women?
The women, and then the women take responsibility for that.
No, but here it is, the men, and the men, and this is for years. Some of these children are grown children, and the men are convinced that it's their children. And it's only when a test is done that they found out that this child or these children are not mine. Right? So it is a situation where, you know, I am not in the one of them to really say that men are the transgressors when it comes on to infidelity. Women are very aggressive.
Right, so let's give Mary a chance to wrap up, and then we move on to Desmond. Go ahead, Mary.
So I would say, in wrap up, Brother Desmond, I take your point completely. I stood corrected, as I always held the view that men were the perpetrators, leaders, but we are tied. So I will say, no matter who give the bun, man or woman, bun is hot. It burns. And it can cause death to some people, physically and mentally. So therefore, before you think to give your partner bun, just think it out, talk it out, and walk it out.
Mary, did people you talk to, did they say that this was a common experience? Did they indicate that the business was common?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Winnie, you have a last word on it? No. All right. So Desmond, let's come to you. We're trying to get back Prof to see if we can get him going. And Prof, whenever you get a chance, whenever your system gets better, let's see if we can take it. We're sorry to viewers and listeners about the internet issues we're having with regard to Prof Hutton. Prof, is it better now?
Sure.
Not sure. All right. So Desmond, over to you now, sir.
Well, I am very disappointed that I might not live to see us Jamaicans with its own constitution, because
well, we have a constitution now, man. What do you mean by that? We have a constitution now.
No, we have a British constitution.
It's our constitution.
That is not our constitution.
All right, so we're not going to take
that's not our constitution. We want a constitution that is written by us and with our rules and clear, a breakaway. No, we want to break away from the Babylon system, the colonial system. And the government is offering a proposal where we do this pathway. No. There must be no pathway. If we want to break away from the monarchy, and therefore we don't want to be in a position where we continue to get justice from the monarchy, the court, the monarchy's court, right? I can't understand the rationale behind the government's position, because one of the things that viewers and listeners should do when they look at over the years that the JLP has maintained a pro-Privy Council stance, and I don't know the reason. I would like to hear from the Prime Minister to come out of it, break the silence, and tell the Jamaican people why the government want to retain the Privy Council as our final court of justice. No, I am saying that we must break away. And the problem is, as we stand now.
Are you interested in how Jamaicans generally feel about it? Are you interested in that, or you just believe that somebody must decide on the road we go down?
Well, I would like to hear a recent poll of what the Jamaicans are thinking. But one of the things that you must know, Franklin, that this constitution as it exists now is that the Jamaican people don't know about this constitution, We are talking as if it's the constitution. The Jamaican people don't know about the constitution.
That's true.
Right? So one of the things that should have been done, I spoke about this regularly when I get a chance, is that we should have a big, massive campaign to educate the people about the constitution so that they know what is the constitution and what we must do. Right?
Another thing that I think they need to sensitize us Jamaicans too about this, whether we stay with the monarchy or we leave the monarchy, is what are the pros and cons of staying with the monarchy? Because a lot of us on the street, we will quickly say, yeah man, we want to get rid of the queen or the king in this case, but do we really understand what that means when we say that? What if there are any hardships for us to bear? What perks and stuff will be given up as a country? So I do believe there's a sensitized and awareness needed.
Well, when you talk about the hardship, I don't think there is any hardship that you could compare with slavery. I don't think so. And these are the people who enslaved us. I can see no reason, and I'm speaking personally now, no reason why we should believe or continue to cling to the coattails of our enslavers. No.
Desmond, what I find amazing is that after all this time, after 60 years of political independence, we can't make up our mind on this and going on in a particular way. We can't make up our mind to shred ourselves, to remove from Jamaica's governance, its justice system, it's the whole thing, the British monarchy, with all that is invested in that. After 60 years, we're still having a big debate about it. And there are so many issues in this country that also, in addition, needs to be dealt with. And the people are not mobilized, the people are not educated about the system. It is amazing that 60 years down the road, we're still having this type of debate.
Yes, sir. Because one of the things is that the political parties, remember one of the things that they are scoring political points, and unless both of them come together and say, okay, this is what we want, this is where we think we should go. If you go to a referendum, you are going to get a mixed up reaction from the people, because the people are going to vote along party lines. And
all right, we're gonna move on. We still can't get to Professor Hutton. We're gonna try him one more time. Professor Hutton, you can hear us now when you want to. Go ahead. Prof Hutton, you're hearing us now? I still don't think so.
Professor is there. He can hear.
Professor, go ahead, please.
All right, Professor, you can go ahead.
Great. Thanks for having me. I think this is my second time with you, Franklin. Early childhood, I would say, represents the Achilles heel of the education system. So long as we fail to solve the problem of early childhood, our education system will continue to struggle. In fact, it's 186 years now since emancipation, and much effort was made then to start a school system. And 146 years, 86 years after, we still continue to struggle. In fact, if you look at the Patterson report, less than 50% of our students at all levels of the education system are performing in accordance with standards that are set. Well, that's not good. And when we look at early childhood and COVID-19, they suffered the most in terms of the pandemic. And in fact, we cannot say no for sure exactly what has happened at that level. How many students are still back in the education system? So there's much work to be done at the early childhood level. But when we look at early childhood and those who attend, the children, in fact, based on studies that have been done, have the capacity and ability to learn. So if you look at the intellectual level, the psychological level, physical preparation, they are as prepared for learning like any other children in any other jurisdiction, internationally, regionally, and locally. So what do we need to do? That's the question, to improve and significantly improve the performance at the early childhood level. Currently, there are about 6 types of school there, including the basic school. And I want to focus on basic school because up to 60% of the children at the early childhood level attend our basic school. In fact, 50% of the schools are in fact basic school, 1,600, and there are up to 111,000 students at that level. 68,000 of these students belong to basic schools. One of the things that really struck me as I look at the system is that 50% of the schools won't be able to meet the standards set by the Ministry of Education. And if that is, and when you look carefully, some of the schools, it is going to be impossible for them to reach the standard set by the ministry. So the question is, what do we do to address the problem of basic school? I think the main solution is what I call the consolidation and modernization of the basic school and early childhood system overall. With 1,600 schools, we want to consolidate and reduce the number of schools. We want to look at population centers and target them to put and to place our basic school. So instead of, and the National Council of Education looked at these schools, and in truth and in fact, about 450 schools, consolidating the schools to about 450 would be adequate to meet the needs of the school. But of course, you have to look at school size. There are 3 sizes proposed by the ministry. One with 9 classrooms, second with 6 classrooms, and the third with 3 classrooms. For each classroom, you're going to have 20 students. So if we take that approach,
we're going to allow you to
population
continue.
center, we can significantly reduce the number of basic schools, and so better prepared to have quality teachers, more teachers assigned to these schools, and so learning could be enhanced in a very significant way. Most important,
Prof, I just want to interrupt a little bit. I just wanted you to tell us whether there's an agreement in the Ministry of Education to consolidate basic schools, and what because we don't have a lot of time and we're going to beg you to come back next week, but because we had all these issues. But I wanted to ask you whether there was an agreement in the Ministry of Education that basic schools should be consolidated, and what happened to the woman and mainly women, a woman who runs our
Franklin, could you raise the question again, please?
Yes, and what happened to the woman who runs our little school, and that is our living, and that is our living? Prof, can you respond to that?
yeah, just raise the question one more time. I didn't hear it.
Okay, I was asking you whether there was an agreement in the Ministry of Education to consolidate schools, and what therefore would happen to the woman who runs her own little basic school. And we don't have a lot of time.
Right, and let me say this, that of course that has been part of the system, but at this point where we need to solve the problem, we cannot allow our schools to be organized in this way. The state has to play a more significant role in the ownership of these basic schools. It cannot be a situation where, of course, the person wants to make a bread, the person loses his or her job, and so decide to set up a basic school, and that's okay. That cannot be okay. We need to take a much more serious approach to the problem.
Okay. All right. We have had some more issues with Prof Singh. Viewers, listeners, we are so sorry.
But he raised a very good point, Sir Mac. It can't be people who lost their jobs, drop out, is going to start an early childhood, because that's like the foundation on which we're building education.
Yeah, but that has not been going on for a long time, so we have to be told whether that used to serve us or not.
It needs to be the brightest at the bottom, and then we build from the bottom up.
I think that there's education theory which is suggesting that.
And the other point raised by the professor is very critical, that we must rescue basic school education if we are going to improve the educational system in the country.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I can't apologize enough to the viewers and listeners because we've run out of time. We haven't even been able to take the comments this week.
Yes.
I didn't
and just quickly, Sir Mac, just quickly give a shout out to Rubian, our resident guest, and we have Marvel who is tuning in, Rasta Black. Hi guys, next week we'll take your comments.
Okay, thank you. Now, well, I won't get to take on my issues this week. Winnie, we apologize to you as well. And I want to say special thanks to Professor Disraeli Hutton, who was with us earlier. We're going to ask him to come back with us next week and hopefully get that technical system working better. On behalf of Mary, Winnie, and Desmond, and technical support from Joshua Black, thank you as ever for joining the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast this week. We invite you to share the link and to subscribe to the podcast if you have not yet done so. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.
To comment during the